Hey and welcome to Beyond Systems, everyone. It's Egwin here, today coming with the next weekly update. This time we are talking once more about emotions and more specifically about how emotions and tension in the body are related. Let me kick this off by saying I've done a couple of videos about emotions already. This is a standalone video. I'm gonna put some of the links down in the description below if you want to check the other ones out. Other than that, just enjoy the next couple of minutes. And if you like them, please also click like and share and subscribe to the channel for more updates. Now, without any further ado, let's jump into emotions and the relation to tension in the body. Now, like I keep mentioning, emotions are very much physical. Contrary to what most people are taught, or also what society sometimes pushes people to believe, no, it's not all in your head. That's extremely important. Emotions always have a very, very physical component to them. Either it's the actual physical body reacting to an outside stimulus that is then realized as an emotional response by our mind, by our conscious and subconscious mind, or the other way around, we trigger a memory or have a certain thought that then creates an internal emotional reaction in the physical body that we pick up on, which actually makes memories come to life or actually enables us to do anything really, because anything in terms of movement, in terms of creating a palpable thought, it's always, emotions are always tightly linked with the physical body, and this is the foundation of the video for today. When I say tension and how it relates to emotions, picture it like this. Obviously, we have two very extreme polarities when we are talking about tension in the body. Let's talk about muscular tension to start with. We can imagine a muscle to be 100% tense, extremely tight, and we can also imagine that same muscle to be extremely flaccid and relaxed, like totally soft. Those are the two polarities. Ideally, we have the capacity to switch between those two polarities. This enables us to be more adaptive in terms of movement, but it also enables us to express more of our internal feeling, our emotions, our mind, our thoughts, more towards the outside through a larger array of possibilities, given that we can choose either to be soft and relaxed in our expression or highly tensed, maybe also with a highly tensed voice, and so on. So all of that is important for the next couple of minutes. When we talk about emotions, emotions have a lot to do with the pulsation between cells and with the tension level in the body. Positive emotions are typically linked to a high energy situation in a positive sense, a high energy situation where good intercellular communication takes place, where we bounce between more tension and less tension, where we are really flexible, mobile, agile, and just feel alive. So-called negative emotions, they are typically linked to one of the following two categories. Either a low energy state with extremely low tension in the body, like for example, a real depressed state, a chronically depressed state where there is very, very little energy present in your life, and you don't really feel awake to do things and stuff like that. And on the other side, we have emotions that are linked to the high tension area, which would be fear, anxiety, aggression, anger, all of those kind of emotions. Typically, the tension level in the body adapts throughout the day a couple of times to actually facilitate the expression of different kinds of emotions. And that's also something that hardly anyone is really conscious about. We always talk about emotional states, but most people hardly realize that emotional states, they are very fluidic. They change on a regular basis. And when I say that, I don't mean today I have this emotional makeup and tomorrow I have the other emotional makeup. Emotions, since they are always an interaction, a communication, and an immediate reaction to the outside as well, they literally change sometimes within seconds even, typically within a couple of minutes. So our body has to be very adaptive in order for us to be able to perceive our interactions in their full scope of quote-unquote complexity, or let's put a more positive word to it, color. This diversity of impulses that we interact with, this is a large portion of what makes life worth living, because that's where we derive this idea from, or this feeling from, that we are alive, that something is happening, that we are involved in life. And that's exactly why we need emotional adaptability. Now, what happens if the adaptability is limited, specifically due to a certain set of tension patterns in the body? Let's take the two extreme examples that I brought before. When you experience someone who is rather low energy, who hasn't done any movement exercises in a very long time, has completely hypotrophic muscles, so meaning the muscle mass is reduced to a bare minimum just to carry them throughout the day, apart from all the structural troubles that potentially lie in such a situation, emotionally, it'll be very difficult for those people to actually tune up and come into any sort of more high energetic and more active interaction with life in a positive sense. They will feel a lack of energy, a lack of drive, a lack of motivation, a lack of fun and joy. Whereas on the other side, people with a very high tension in the body, either because they're extremely stressed out or because they just keep that high tension in the body due to a breathing pattern, or say because they are very, very, very much physically active. They train their body physically so much and give themselves too little of recovery phases that actually the tension, the basic tension pattern, the baseline tension pattern shifts towards the high tension area. And that's actually what's happening, right? We have a baseline. From that baseline, a healthy person, a 100% healthy person physically as well as emotionally, mentally, has a neutral baseline more or less that is capable of drifting more towards relaxation and also going more towards tension. This is then using the full scope of your capabilities. If you're shifted more towards the tension area, so your body is working constantly on a high tensed level, and you never even come towards quote-unquote neutral in a resting position, say when you sit down, when you have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or glass of water ideally, when you just try to relax a little bit, but still the tension in your muscles does not drop to neutral or even below that. it just stays in this high tensed situation, then those people, they're more likely to experience emotions like anger, like anxiety and fear. Those are people that are more snappy typically, more hot-headed, and more motivational, but not necessarily in a positive sense anymore. Sometimes to the extent that they actually lose energy because they are constantly on this train of working, and action, without having enough of the relaxation polarity. What could be the cause for that? Like, let me give you a simple example with regard to movement, which is also something that I talk a lot about on this channel, and hence it might be interesting for some of you guys. I always talk about the importance of having a balanced movement training. And the balanced movement training is one where the coordination is very high in regard, where movement quality stands in very high regard, and in terms of strength training is balanced with relaxation training. You can be incredibly strong if you also learn how to relax and how to properly coordinate the muscles. So I do not say that strength training per se is a problem. Definitely not. On the contrary, if you're someone who has been sitting for the past 20 years, hasn't done any movement at all or a lot of movement, then chances are that you actually will have a harder time to get into this motivational, whoa, yay, and having joy, having fun, and just enjoying life to the fullest aspect. Whereas on the other side of the coin, when you're constantly in this high tension situation with regard to gym training, for example, I see that a lot when I go out in gyms, in different studios, teach in different studios and stuff like that. I often see those people that train with heavy weights. And they use a certain amount of aggression sometimes to push themselves towards the point of being able to train with a more heavy weight. Now, let's observe that from the emotional perspective for a second. What happens? First of all, if those people are doing this kind of slightly aggressive training multiple times a week, they also train the emotional state linked to it, which is this aggression, this pushing through, this powering through and powering over. They also train this pattern neurologically as well as structurally, emotionally in the body. So the pathway that links them to having a more aggressive basic nature is even trained more and more and more with every single time they repeat that and do not get enough balance in other emotions and in full relaxation as well. When training to a very high tension level in the body, so you have someone where you really see all those six packs and all of the abdominal muscles, very, very hard, the whole body structure. Many bodybuilders, they train to look like this. But it comes with the downside of them limiting their amount of emotional expressibility in the other direction. Now, don't get me wrong. This does not mean that a person who trains very aggressively in a gym and has a high body tone, higher than healthy or than, let's say, needed for healthy life body tone, this does not mean that they only experience aggression and anger and frustration and stress. This does not mean that they are limited to those emotions. It also does not mean that someone who is only sitting in front of their desk 24/7 almost and does not do any movement, who has hypertrophic muscles, like really thin and not very trained muscles, a very low body tone, it does not mean that they will only experience sadness and depression and stuff like that. No. But they have a greater likelihood of experiencing those emotions more often, and of having all other emotions they can experience colored by those either high tension or low tension emotions. So for, say, for example, for someone who is in this high tension, high aggression training in the gym and stuff like that, and they never really bounce back into the relaxation state, they will have a harder time to experience joy, love, relaxation, and just the beauty of life in the same way and to the same degree than someone who is more or less balanced somewhere in the middle in terms of their physical muscular tone, who can express themselves in full tension or in full relaxation. And the same goes again for the side of the coin with a low tension persona. A low tension persona, they are not limited to depression and stuff like that. They can also experience joy and fun and love, but they will most likely not experience it to the same degree, gratefulness and stuff like that, to the same degree than someone who is, again, in a more balanced physiological tension pattern state. So this is extremely important for me to share, because so often I see that people only pay attention to the structural, only pay attention to their posture, only pay attention to, yeah, they are doing it, so I am doing it as well. But what's missing out there is this understanding of, okay, what is the movement that I choose to do, or the lack of that movement? What effects does that have on my mental, my emotional, and my energetic and overall spiritual and just well-being and health? Because there are a lot of crosslinks and they are massively overlooked. So again, this does not mean that someone who is doing intensive physical training can only be aggressive, but they have more tendency towards that. They typically have a much shorter fuse. Now, one could argue that such kind of training is typically only done by people who will already have that personality trait in them. And that's kind of true, but especially nowadays with all those fitness programs and all of those different ideas of staying fit and the fit is the new sexy and stuff like that, with all of that popping up, more and more people who would typically be more on the soft side of the spectrum, on the relaxed part of the spectrum, they typically now also try to go into this push direction. And like I said, there is nothing wrong with physical training. Absolutely not. I always encourage physical training. I encourage movement, healthy movement. But you also need to know what you are doing. And the second you tip too long and too intensely towards one side of the spectrum. The last 3 months I was tired and I was only sitting down in front of my TV and watching movies all day long because I didn't know what to do else. Something like that. Or I was going to the gym every single day for 3 hours and I was killing it. I just tried to break that bench press and stuff like that, the bench of the pressing station and stuff like that. Like, that's the other extreme. It always needs a balance. And in order to live a fully rounded, well focused and also good adaptive and adaptable life that gives you all the options that you want, it's also important to pay attention to the links between the physical training, the physical status of your muscles, of your organs, of the rhythms in your body, and how they affect mental and emotional states. Because it doesn't end with the emotional. The emotional is only the mostly overlooked part. If you're in a more tense situation, so will your thoughts be. You cannot think a single thought without a muscular reaction in the body. But that's not a one-way street. It works both ways. Every muscular tension in the body will trigger a certain thought pattern, a certain response pattern in your thoughts. And so being more on the tense side will also create more stressed out, more tense thoughts. So in the opposite direction will the complete relaxed state or flaccid, like this energy, low energy level state. It will lean more towards not really seeing possibilities, not really wanting to go after them, and all of that stuff. But really, living life is acting, interacting, reacting, sometimes having a good day, sometimes being annoyed about something or being angry with someone or maybe with yourself. And sometimes it's being sad and sometimes it is being depressed. But the ability to switch back out of those so-called negative emotion polarities and really having it all in a balanced way, this ability comes from the ability to adapt. When I talk about balance, I never mean try to be in the middle at all times. I always mean your capacity to move towards this and towards the other polarity, and to dynamically juggle it in between. With that actually comes a lot of freedom. With that comes a lot of possibility to adapt, to adjust, to be, and to express yourself. And also to manifest more easily what you actually want. We know it's a well-known fact by now from neuroscience, from all kinds of motivational coaches and so on. We definitely know by now, we have millions of people proving it, that the physical state, the emotional state, and the mental state that you're in are tightly linked to well-being, to health, to the success you have in life, to what you attract in life, to what things you observe and what things you see, what things you become aware of in life. Hence, that's what I promote. I always promote knowledge. And if people are unaware that a certain physical tension might mean that they lean towards one or the other polarity of the emotional spectrum, if they don't know that, then how can they pay attention to it or consciously change that situation? If they know about it, now the ball is in your court. Now it's on you to make a conscious decision and at least have the potential, due to the knowledge you gained, to actually change something. And that, like I said, creates personal freedom. It promotes personal freedom. And that's the most important thing of everything, for all the things that I share with you guys. Know what you do, because that empowers you and it enables you to make better choices for your life. It increases the adaptability, it increases the potential reach of choices that you actively have. That being said, I wish you a wonderful time till the next video. Take care. Think about this. If you have questions, leave them down in the comment box below. If you liked the video and you think maybe someone else should really listen to this or might have a benefit from listening to that, then please share the video, click like. This really helps my channel to grow and to impact more people with the information that I share. All right. Have a beautiful time. Thank you for watching and see you around next time. Bye, guys.